Hello and greetings from Iceland. Since Sunday, we have literally been seeing the fishing village Grindavik sink into the ground in front of us. And me, like most Icelanders, we are trying to deal with the fact that we just witnessed a disaster that is still ongoing in slow motion. It's like a slow motion disaster movie we can't run away from. And for those of you who are new to all this happening here in Iceland, the Reykjanes Peninsula is the youngest part of our country. The volcanic systems there wake up every 800 years or so, and that means problems that can go on for 300 years. And the peninsula woke up in 2020. This is around number 5 in 3 years. And so far it has led to the evacuation of 3,700 people from 1,200 homes, or almost 1% of the nation. And those earthquakes last Saturday turned out to be a way more serious event than we believed at first. They left us with a huge depression in the land. And it's actually a miniature version of a depression valley. And to get a formation like this near a volcano is no big deal, hardly even newsworthy. But to find a formation like this under a town that we prefer to remain on even ground, that is something new. And even though our luck would turn from now and there would be no eruption at all, the town might be damaged beyond repair, or at least a big part of it, like the part of it that dropped by 1 meter and it is still moving today, like the magma that's under there. So this was quite a lot for me to digest before I found my concentration again to move on with this update. And I'm going back to the map now, where I've added this little new valley of ours. And I am sure that geologists will explain this better as time moves on, when they have analyzed all the data. But the people around here, they got only 2 or 3 hours to get out of town last Saturday. And while packing, they had no clue about this magma intrusion under their home. So they were in fact fleeing the earthquakes, not an eruption, and left almost everything behind, like the cats that were out doing their things. And most of us have been under the impression that an eruption would come up at a safe distance from a town, or at least leave us with a few days to evacuate parts of it. But that wasn't the case, and the town still remains a danger zone. And in fact, it is now one of the most likely places for the eruption to occur, if it comes up. So last Sunday, it was only a small group of people that was allowed to come back, but only to the easternmost and safest part of town, where most of the horses and sheep are. So it was possible to move them from harm's way. And the seismic activity continued to drop on Monday, yesterday, so people were allowed to go back for only a short time, like 5 or 10 minutes, to pick up their most personal belongings and such. And according to search and rescue workers, the hardest part was to follow them back, because many of them didn't know if their house would be there tomorrow. Was it the last visit? Did they forget to take something back? So this has been very hard on them. And today, this operation goes on. The local companies are now transporting export fish away from town, and it's a lot of export value that comes from out of this little community. But this earthquake swarm that caused all this, it originates from this magma intrusion under the town. It's been splitting the land, and then it is sinking above the magma. And as for infrastructure and property damage, this is already the worst natural disaster to strike Iceland since 1973. And this is also a way more complicated event than that eruption in the Westman Islands. Only a few days ago, we were getting ready for an eruption, and my coverage was all about the location, while I was following the earthquake patterns like I've done before. And the eruption that we expected hasn't even started, and the town is already in ruins. We find fractures and sinkholes all around. Everything is skewed and bent, and even new houses that were built by the edge of this depression valley, the only thing that awaits some of them now is to be demolished. This is not like the usual earthquake disaster we see in the international media, with bricks and dust all over. A big part of the town looks quite normal, since it was not 1 or 2 big earthquakes that did this. It was a magma dike forming under those houses. And of course, it came as a big shock for the people living there. So Last Sunday here in Iceland was strange. I used it to drive to the Grindavik intersection by the Keflavik airport road. I was shooting some photos and videos from there, doing a longer range test with the drone, see how far I could go with it, what angles would work best for the zoom lens and such. And the big question still remains, will we get an eruption on top of this disaster? So I've been listening, and it seems to me, as most experts are of the opinion, that we will get an eruption there. But where? And we are not even sure if the eruption will take place in the town itself. Like Professor Ármann Höskuldsson has been saying that the eruption will most likely come up by the Eldvörp craters, and we hope he is right. The probability of a submarine eruption seems to have decreased. Such an eruption would wipe out the tourism industry for sure, so it's good news that we don't seem to be heading into that direction. But there are, however, many different opinions out there in the science community, which is not unusual in itself when an area like this is waking up after 800 years. And I've been finding voices amongst scientists saying that we might have been hyping up the size of the eruption that we originally expected, and I hope that they are right. But the overall status is that we are in the midst of a natural disaster that has already left 3,700 people homeless, and while the magma is splashing around under a big part of the town, we are not seeing this coming to an end. There is no quick solution to get the kids to school again, but there are, however, no families in tents, and it's only very few that are using the Red Cross facilities, and that's because we are a small nation with open doors in cases like this. So we don't have to worry about that for a while. But I will have to make a video about how the insurance systems works around here. I'm already getting questions about that, and there are many other angles that we need to cover. I am so fortunate that I do probably have one of the largest video stocks from Grindavik out there. It even includes a drive-around video shot 24 hours before the disaster, and lots of other footage that I can use to compare the old and the new Grindavik when I can get back to town. But it is, however, clear already that this community will never be quite the same again. In the best case scenario, there will be a population decline because it's the most densely populated part of the town that's above this magma intrusion, and I don't see anyone live there or build there ever again. And if it will erupt after all this, it just might be all over for the town. So I'm just letting this sink in, how my good old Grindavik, my home and workplace for many years, is sinking into the ground. And my own problems are very small and insignificant when I look at what those people are dealing with, who have been living there all their lives. And I think that one of the hardest parts is that we still don't see the chance to do the fight back. Natural disasters are nothing new here in Iceland. Under normal circumstances, we would be responding now, building something, making things happen again. But instead we are watching the town sinking into the ground, asking if the gap will be filled up with lava soon. So this is extremely large story unfolding, but it is good news that it is a special breed of people there, like in many other fishing villages. And in a way we can call them experts when it comes to natural disasters, but over 20,000 earthquakes, constant shaking for almost 2 weeks took a toll from those people. Many of them are still feeling the earthquakes even if they are far away from the town now, or still in a state of shock. And my biggest fear that I spoke about from almost my first volcano update in 2020 is now a reality. This location for a town is not good, like I've been showing you from the drone. But like with many other fishing villages, they are all about the harbor facilities. And there are very few harbors by the south coast. And while the harbor still is there, and some of the resilient people there is always a hope. But this was, however, my first video after this new reality for the town. This is a major drama, but negativity isn't helping at all. But to wait after the possible eruption, that's the hardest part. So I will move on with this coverage. I don't expect to go home in near future to North Iceland, so I will have to make some arrangements to make things work. I wish I could go into Grindavik now to get some footage from there, but I'm not on the list. But I will leave links to videos and photos in the video description and update it every now and then so you can see how serious this is. And there are nations having way more problems than us, but for sure we would have liked to see things develop differently. But this is just how it is. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.